Hey everybody, welcome to the Faster Fitness Show. I will be your solo host today, Frankie Gonyea. Ivan's out handling some business, so you get me today. Stay tuned. Welcome back to another episode of the Faster Fitness Show with just me today. But I got a question from a client, and let me just start off by saying we love when you ask questions. So if you're watching the show, you're listening to the show, if you have a question, literally shoot me a text, Ivan a text, or shoot us a message on social media with your question and we will answer it. So today's question is about intermittent fasting, right? Kind of what is intermittent fasting? Should I do intermittent fasting? How does it work? What should my workouts be like? So let's dive into that. So intermittent fasting is essentially, at the simplest terms, is that we have a window of feeding, and then we have a window of fasting where we do not eat, right? So it could look something like this, where you eat from noon till 8 o'clock, and then you fast from 8 p.m. until noon the next day, right? So a lot of that time too, sometimes I remember the first time I heard about intermittent fasting, I was like, oh, there is no way I can go 16 hours without eating. There is no way. And I did it. Because most of the time is sleeping, right? If you think about it, you finish eating at 8, your last meal finishes about 7:45, 8, you go to bed 10, 11 o'clock, you wake up 7 a.m., and you kind of go through your morning routine. All of a sudden it's about 10 a.m. and then you have about 2 hours until you can eat. Definitely, it doesn't mean that it's not challenging, because it is, but in a nutshell, that's what intermittent fasting is. Now, should you do it? I have no idea. It depends. Some people do great with intermittent fasting. Some people don't. I always say the best approach is to try it. Try it out. See if it works for you. Is it sustainable? Is it something you can do for more than 4 weeks? If it's a yes, and after a week you realize I really love doing that, cool. Go do it. Keep doing it, and see if it works for you. If you're somebody that is a high stress person, you have a high stress job, or just life is very stressful, I highly recommend probably not doing intermittent fasting, because we're just gonna add a little bit more stress to that of, oh my God, I can't eat right now. When can I eat? Oh no, what can I do? So that would be my approach for that. So it depends, but if you are going to try intermittent fasting, and just to let you know, give you context, I do some sort of fasting. I don't necessarily do intermittent fasting, but I do fast. So typically I finish eating, because I have later nights, around a little bit before 9 p.m. And then normally on some days, for example, tomorrow, I probably won't eat till about 11:30. On other days, like today, I didn't eat until about 10:45, and I stopped eating yesterday about 8. So it kind of switches day by day for me, and that kind of just works best for me, because I feel better when I don't eat first thing in the morning, and I give myself a little bit of time, especially because I eat later in the night. It gives me a little bit of a digestive break, in the sense of I don't feel full all day, all the time, and I also like that feeling, a little bit of hunger. Don't get me wrong, I love food, I love eating, but having that hunger and being okay with it has taught me so much about myself, that I am resilient. And so fasting has taught me a bunch of things, right? That it's okay to be hungry. We don't always need to feed that desire every time we feel, oh my God, I'm hungry, I need a snack, I need this, I need that. Most of us, now there are some cases where you do need to eat consistently throughout the day, but for most of us, it's okay to feel a little bit hungry. Every morning about 8 a.m., I get a feeling of hunger, and it lasts about 30 minutes. And I know it's down to a T. I'll look at the clock, and I know what's going on. I kind of just drink water, keep doing what I'm doing, it goes away, and then I can literally, it's super easy for me to wait till 11, 12 o'clock to eat that meal too. So again, a little bit of background on me and my kind of story with intermittent fasting, that I've kind of evolved from doing the 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of eating, to a more sustainable approach for myself. And that approach works for me, may not work for you. Figure out what works for you. I always say, At minimum, most people should fast at least 12 hours. Example, you stop eating at 7, you don't eat again until 7 a.m., right? That's not that bad, right? But again, today we're talking about intermittent fasting. So kind of what are the parameters around it? And I want to start off by saying that it's not really a diet. I don't consider it a diet. I consider it more of a lifestyle. I know a lot of people that implement fasting and they just essentially skip breakfast and they feel better. It's helped them have more energy, more cognitive, like their cognitive ability, the way they think, their creative side is a lot better when they fast. They've had success with some weight loss. But again, I don't consider it really a diet. I consider it more of a lifestyle approach. If your approach is to, I want to see how much weight I can lose with intermittent fasting, I think you're already going into it with the wrong approach. If you're somebody that wants to, yes, you have some weight to lose, but you want to just feel better overall, you want to try what this fasting is to see if it works for you, then 100% try it. So with fasting, there are some rules. There are some firm believers like the intermittent fasting camp, like the people who are like, this is exactly how you do it. If you're not doing it this way, then you're not doing it right. And I hate those kind of people, but they don't think that you should have anything besides water while you're fasting, right? Nothing in the morning. And that's it, just water until you break your fast. I've also know people, and I've seen it from other people, where black coffee, again, plain black coffee is okay, or plain tea, a type of tea is okay, and water. But if you're going to Starbucks and getting the creamy, sugary drinks, you've already broken your fast, right? Because essentially it's going to spike your insulin, it's going to raise that, and so as soon as that's raised, you are no longer fasting. So just know that thing. I always tell people you're safe with just keeping to black coffee or just water, and that you'll have success doing it that way. Now, like, what about when it comes to the weekends? Do I fast 5 days and then the weekends I change it? Again, it's dependent on you. Again, I don't treat it like a diet. I treat it more of like a lifestyle. Mine adjusts with every single day, mine's a little bit different. When it comes to the weekends, it's a little bit easier for me to fast, especially like Saturdays. I typically work in the morning anywhere from 7 a.m. till about 10, 11 a.m. Usually I'll try to get a workout in after that, which will bring me closer to the 1 o'clock window. And then that's usually when I have my first meal. I don't go crazy if I eat, a little bit later than normal. If I'm out and about and I'm eating at 10 or 11, whoop-de-doo, then I try to fast again on Sunday, and I typically try to fast till after church. So I usually go to church about 9:30, don't get home till about 11. So by the time I make food, all that, about 11:30. So the weekends are pretty easy for me. So adjust it based off of your lifestyle is what I'm gonna say. If you wanna be more restrictive and you want more rules, then yes, you need to, if you wanna eat later on the weekend, say till 9 or 10 o'clock, fast a little bit longer. Instead of eating at noon, maybe you don't eat and you wait to eat until like 1 or 2 o'clock, so you have a longer feeding window, and then you're literally gonna have to extend your fast the next day as well too. So that's one approach you can do for fasting. But again, there's no set rules. I love teaching it in the sense of making it work for your lifestyle, right? Now when it comes to workouts, if you're somebody that works out at 5 a.m., maybe fasting until noon is not the best approach for you, right? Because you work out at 5, you're done at 6, that's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 6 hours until you're feeding your body after you just broke it down during a training session. Your fasting might look a little different. You might wait until about 8 a.m. to eat, which is perfectly fine, 9 a.m. to eat, and then you stop eating earlier in your day, right? If that's your approach, and if you're somebody that works out really early in the morning, if that's not sustainable, stopping at 4 or 5 o'clock for eating and then fasting again, then maybe fasting's not for you, and that's okay. We can find another approach for you. If you're somebody that works out later in the day, right? Say you work out 6, 7 o'clock at night, you're probably going to have to fast longer, right? Not eat until about 1 o'clock, right? So that you can eat all the way up until about 9, and then fast again. If that's something you can't do and it's not sustainable for majority of the time, then maybe fasting's not for you as well too. So kind of take all these things into consideration when deciding if fasting is something you want to try. Now with workouts too, what kind of workout should I do? You could still do the same workouts while you're fasting. what you'll notice and what I noticed for myself, and this is just a personal anecdote, is that I do better with weightlifting when I've been fed. So I like to break my fast first and then work out in the afternoon. If it comes to cardio, like today I did some cardio. I love doing cardio fasted. I just feel better. There's no difference in the sense of you're gonna burn more fat if you're fasted while you're working out versus not. Like we've already talked about that in a previous podcast. It's more a personal preference. I feel stronger and I feel better when I'm strength training with food in me. So again, that's something you should take into consideration. But you 100% can do any type of workout fasted. Your body will eventually adapt to fasted workouts in the sense of it'll feel normal. It might feel really good for you to do that. So take that into consideration for you as well. Now, what should you be eating when you're fasting? The same stuff that I always talk about eating, right? If you are working out, right, and you're breaking your fast after your workout, then your meal should contain protein, veggies, carbs, and fats. It should contain all 4 of the food groups essentially, right? Again, protein, carbs, veggies, fats. It should contain all those. What you'll notice, you'll eat, you probably won't be hungry again until like 4 o'clock. At that time, probably have some protein and veggies and then finish your fast with a little bit of protein veggies. If you're somebody that's trying to build a little muscle, then you're probably gonna need some carbs in there. But again, this is just general things. There's nothing set in stone saying you need to eat this way while you're fasting. Just kind of some general rules of thumb, right? If you're somebody that works out later in the day, maybe you break your fast with some protein and vegetables and fats, and then your next meal, same thing, or your next meal is some protein, veggies, carbs for a pre-workout, and then protein, veggies, carbs, fats for your last meal of the day, because it definitely is hard to get more than 3 meals in during a fasting window. So know that too. Let's see what else we could talk about with fasting too. So I think we covered a lot of it. Again, if you get into the time, I think the first time I did intermittent fasting, it was an unhealthy approach because the whole time I was fasting, I was thinking about food, what I was gonna eat next and all this stuff. And it was just a bad mindset to be in, and that's why I wasn't successful the first time. When I have adapted the style of I'm gonna make it work for me and my lifestyle, that approach has been way better too. So again, intermittent fasting, how does it work with weight loss? Essentially, it's just putting you in a calorie deficit, right? If you're only eating 2 or 3 meals a day and you're only eating in a certain window, unless you're eating fast food and shitty food, you're probably going to stay in a calorie deficit and sustain a calorie deficit, and that's where you'd get weight loss. Again, not my best approach for weight loss, or not something I think you should go into it just trying to lose weight. Should be more of a lifestyle approach to it as well too. And again, it always comes down to what works best for you. Fasting isn't anything miracle. It's not gonna save your life. But again, if you notice while doing it that you feel better, you feel less bloated, you feel less inflammation, you have more energy, it's something you can sustain, then maybe fasting was the approach for you. So that's my take on intermittent fasting. I know I covered a lot, but there's a lot to cover within that too, because I think people get into it for the wrong reasons. So just make sure that you have the right reasons of why you're going into it. Definitely can be something that you can sustain for your lifestyle. It's something I've done for the last 4 or 5 years successfully, but I've made it work for me, and that's my message with it. Make it work for you. Don't try to shove your life into an intermittent fasting bubble and force yourself to do it, okay? So I hope this video helps. Thanks for watching. If you do have any questions, just comment below. Again, shoot me a DM, shoot Ivan DM. If you have questions on other things when it comes to diet, fitness, or lifestyle, please, please, please reach out to us. We will make a whole show about it. But thank you for watching.